I smiled as the waiter placed our anniversary cake between us. 3 years of marriage had not been perfect, but I believed we had survived every storm together. I reached across the table and held Olivia's hand. "Happy anniversary," I said softly. She smiled back. "Happy anniversary. I can't believe it's already 3 years. I can. Every day with you has been worth it." She laughed. "You're still trying to make me cry. I'll only tell the truth." The candle flickered between us while soft music filled the restaurant. I remembered our tiny apartment, cheap takeout dinners, and nights when we counted every dollar together. "Do you remember our first apartment?" I asked. "How could I forget?" she said. "The roof leaked every time it rained, and we used pots to catch the water." She laughed again. "You called it indoor waterfalls. I was trying to make you smile. You always did." I squeezed her hand. We promised that no matter what happened, we'd always choose each other first. Her smile softened. I remember, for a moment, everything felt perfect. Then my phone stayed silent, but hers suddenly lit up on the table. "Ryan." Her smile disappeared. She stared at the screen without moving. "You're not answering?" I asked. She looked at me, then back at the phone. "It might be important. It's our anniversary." "I know." The phone rang again. Then again. She finally answered. "Ryan." I watched her face change almost instantly. "What happened?" She slowly stood from her chair. "What?" I asked. She covered the phone with her hand. "His business is collapsing. He's having a panic attack." I frowned. "He has other friends." He called me. "Olivia." He says he doesn't know what to do. I took a slow breath before speaking. "Stay," I whispered. "Just tonight. Please." She looked torn. Then she spoke into the phone. "I'll come." My heart dropped. She ended the call and picked up her purse. "I'm sorry." "For what?" "I have to help him." "You don't have to. He needs me." "I need you too." She looked away. "It'll only be one night." I stood beside the table. "It's our anniversary." "I know." "Then don't leave." Her eyes filled with guilt. "I'll make it up to you. You can't replace tonight." She reached for my hand. "I'll be back before morning." I didn't move. She slowly lowered her hand. "I'm sorry." Then she turned toward the restaurant door. I watched every step she took, silently praying she would stop, turn around, and choose me. Instead, she walked out into the night. I barely slept after Olivia walked out on our anniversary. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the empty chair across from me. By morning, I convinced myself I was overreacting. When Olivia came home, she kissed my cheek. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "Ryan was a mess." I stepped back. "Was he?" She frowned. "What does that mean?" "It means you left your husband on our anniversary. He needed someone. I needed my wife." She sighed. "You're making this bigger than it is." "Am I?" She grabbed my hand. "Please don't start a fight." "I'm not trying to fight." "Then what do you want?" "I want to understand why I'm always the one waiting." She looked away. "You're being unfair." Before I could answer, my phone rang. "Daniel." I answered. "How are you holding up?" he asked. "I'm fine." "No, you're not." "I'm trying." He stayed quiet for a moment. "Come over," he said. "Emma made lunch." "I don't feel like talking." "You don't have to." "Then why should I come?" "Because you've been making excuses for Olivia for 3 years." His words settled heavily inside me. For the first time, I wondered if he was right. I drove home with Emma's question echoing inside my head. Every memory felt heavier than before. When I opened the front door, Olivia looked up from the couch. "You're back," she said. "I was with Daniel and Emma." She nodded. "Are they still upset with me?" "They're worried about me." She folded her arms. "I already told you Ryan needed closure." "Closure doesn't take 3 years." "You don't understand." "Then help me understand." "He has nobody else." "What about me?" "You know you're different." I laughed without humor. "Different enough to leave behind?" She frowned. "You're twisting everything." "I'm asking simple questions." She stood. "I never cheated on you." "I didn't ask that." "Then why are you acting like this?" "Because every time he calls, you disappear." She looked toward the window instead of me. "You're overthinking." "No," I said quietly. "I'm finally thinking." Her phone buzzed. She picked it up, read the screen, and locked it immediately. "Who was that?" I asked. "No one." "Let me see. You don't trust me?" I held her gaze. "I want a reason to." She slipped the phone into her pocket and walked upstairs without another word, leaving me alone with growing doubt. I waited until I heard the shower running upstairs. My hands trembled as I walked into our bedroom. Her phone rested on the nightstand, lighting up with another notification. Ryan. My stomach tightened. I unlocked the screen using the code I had known for years. My heart pounded while I opened their conversation. The newest messages looked harmless. Then I started scrolling. Weeks became months. Months became years. I miss talking to you. You always understand me. I knew you'd come. You never let me down. My chest felt heavy. Olivia's replies hurt even more. I'll always be here. Don't worry. You matter to me. I can't ignore you. Then I found one message that shattered everything. Ryan had written, "As long as you keep choosing me, he'll never truly have you." Olivia never argued. She replied, "I know." I stared at those two words until my vision blurred. The shower stopped upstairs. I quickly locked the phone and placed it exactly where I'd found it. For the first time since our marriage began, I stopped asking whether I was imagining things. I finally saw the truth. Ryan had never wanted closure. He only wanted to make sure she never let me come first. I didn't confront Olivia the next morning. I didn't yell, accuse, or demand another explanation. After reading those messages, I understood something painful. No argument could change a choice she had been making for years. Olivia smiled when she saw me making coffee. "Are we okay?" she asked carefully. I handed her a cup. "We'll be fine." She relaxed. "I knew you would understand." I forced a small smile. "So did I." She stepped closer. "I hate when we fight." "I know." She kissed my cheek and left for work without noticing how quiet I had become. The moment the front door closed, I picked up my phone. A calm voice answered. "Sophia Bennett Law Office. How may I help you?" "I'd like to schedule a consultation." "Regarding what?" "My divorce." There was a brief silence. "Can you come this afternoon?" "Yes." "We'll be ready." I ended the call and looked around the house we had built together. For years, I believed love meant waiting. Now I realized love without respect only teaches someone how much pain you'll accept. I quietly picked up my car keys and walked toward the door, ready to make the hardest decision of my life. I returned home before Olivia finished work. The house felt quieter than ever. I carried 2 empty boxes into our bedroom and opened the closet. I packed my clothes first, then my books, my watch, my laptop, everything I had owned before we married. I stopped when I reached the shelf holding our anniversary gifts. I picked up the framed photo from our first vacation. For a moment, I smiled. Then I placed it back. "It belongs to the life we lost," I whispered. I left every gift she had given me exactly where it was. The wedding album stayed on the shelf. The silver watch she bought for my birthday remained inside its box. Even my wedding ring stayed on the dresser. I sat at the kitchen table and pulled out a blank sheet of paper. My pen hovered above the page. I finally began writing. "Olivia, I'm not leaving because I stopped loving you. I'm leaving because I finally started respecting myself." The words came slowly, but they felt honest. Line after line, I poured every unspoken feeling onto the page. When I finished, I folded the letter carefully and placed it beside the house keys. Then I carried my last box to the front door and waited for the final goodbye. My phone vibrated again before sunset. "Olivia." I watched her name appear across the screen until the call ended. A second later, she called again. Then again. I placed the phone face down and kept driving. Minutes later, another message arrived. "Ethan, where are you?" I didn't answer. Another message followed. "Why is your closet empty?" Silence became my only reply. Then another. "I found your letter. Please tell me this isn't real." I tightened my grip on the steering wheel, but refused to stop. The phone rang 6 more times. Finally, a voice message appeared. I listened without speaking. "Ethan, please call me back. We can fix this. I'll stop seeing Ryan. I'll do anything. Please don't leave me." Her crying filled the car. For a moment, I closed my eyes. A week earlier, I would have turned around. Now I simply deleted the message. Another text appeared. "I never believed you would actually leave. Neither had I. But loving someone who never chose me had already cost me too much." As I drove toward my new beginning, I realized something unexpected. I wasn't running away from my marriage. I was finally walking toward myself. Behind me, Olivia finally understood that I was truly gone. 3 days after I left, Olivia finally reached me through Daniel's phone. "Ethan," she whispered, "please don't hang up. I'm listening. I need to see you." There isn't anything left to say. There is. I closed my eyes. 10 minutes, I said. Public place. We met at a quiet coffee shop that had once been our favorite. She sat across from me, twisting her wedding ring. "I miss you." I remained silent. "I know I hurt you. You didn't just hurt me." She looked down. "I never slept with Ryan." "I know." Her eyes lifted hopefully. "Then why are you giving up?" "Because betrayal isn't measured only by physical choices." "I don't understand." I leaned forward. "You gave him your time. You gave him your loyalty. You gave him your comfort. When I needed my wife, you gave those things to another man." Tears filled her eyes. "I never meant to replace you. You didn't have to mean it." I stood slowly. "You only had to keep choosing him." She covered her face and quietly began to cry. The next morning, Daniel called me. "Have you seen the news?" he asked. "No. What happened?" "Ryan's company is collapsing." I opened my laptop and found the headlines within seconds. Investors had pulled out. Employees were resigning. Reporters surrounded his office. Then another video appeared. Ryan stood outside the building, pointing at the cameras. "This isn't my fault," he said. Olivia distracted me with personal drama. She couldn't let go of the past. I stared at the screen in disbelief. "He blamed her?" I asked. Daniel sighed. "He threw her under the bus without thinking twice." I remembered every time Olivia had defended him. Every excuse. Every sacrifice. Every anniversary she had abandoned. Now the man she had protected was protecting only himself. My phone buzzed with a message from Emma. Olivia just left work crying. Everyone saw the interview. I placed the phone down slowly. For the first time, I wasn't angry. I was simply watching the truth unfold. Ryan had never cared about Olivia. He had only cared about having someone to rescue him whenever his own life started falling apart. I turned to leave, but Olivia grabbed my wrist. "Please, Ethan, just hear me out." I stopped without sitting down. "What else is there to say? I thought I was helping someone who couldn't move on. You were helping him hold on to you." I didn't see it. I did. Too late, but I finally saw it. She wiped her tears. "I never wanted to lose you. But you kept risking us." She lowered her head. "I believed you would always forgive me. That's exactly the problem." She looked at me with trembling eyes. "Can we start over?" I shook my head. "We can't return to a place that no longer exists." Before she could answer, her phone rang. "Ryan." She stared at the screen in silence. "Aren't you going to answer?" I asked. She pressed decline. "I'm choosing you." A sad smile crossed my face. "You finally did." Hope filled her expression. "But you're too late." I walked away without looking back. Behind me, I heard her cry my name, but every step forward reminded me that protecting my heart mattered more than rescuing a love that had already broken. That evening, Emma called again. "Ethan, I thought you should know something." "What happened?" Olivia went to her parents' house. I stayed quiet. Michael and Linda finally confronted her. "What did they say?" Emma took a slow breath. "They asked why she kept defending Ryan while destroying her marriage." I closed my eyes. "And?" She couldn't answer. Emma continued softly. Her father looked at her and said, "You kept choosing the wrong person until the right one finally stopped waiting." The words settled heavily inside me. "What did Olivia do?" I asked. She broke down. "She kept saying she never thought you would actually leave." I leaned back in my chair. "Did her mother say anything?" Linda hugged her, but she was crying too. Emma paused. She told Olivia, "Love isn't only about staying. It's about making someone feel chosen every single day." After the call ended, I sat alone in silence. Hearing those words didn't bring satisfaction. It only reminded me how easily the life we built together had slipped away because of one repeated choice. I spent the next few days trying to focus on work, but every quiet moment pulled me back to the same question. Could I forgive her? My phone buzzed again. Another message from Olivia. "I know I don't deserve another chance, but please let me explain everything." I stared at the screen before locking it. An explanation wasn't what I needed anymore. I needed peace. That evening, I walked through the neighborhood alone, thinking about the promises we had made on our wedding day. "I'll always choose you," she had whispered. Back then, I believed every word. Now, those memories felt like echoes from someone I no longer knew. I still loved her. That truth hurt more than my anger ever could. But love without trust had become a prison, and I refused to lock myself inside it again. As I looked up at the darkening sky, I realized forgiveness and reconciliation were not the same. I could forgive Olivia someday. I simply didn't know if I could ever trust her with my heart again. 6 months passed before I finally looked in the mirror without seeing a broken man. I still carried painful memories, but they no longer controlled every morning. Instead of waiting for another apology that would never erase the past, I buried myself in work. One afternoon, Grace walked into my office carrying a thick folder. "I have something for you," she said. I smiled. "Good news or more work?" She laughed. "Both." She placed a folder in front of me. "I want you to lead our biggest development project." I looked at the plans. "This is worth hundreds of millions." "I know. There are people with more experience." "There are. Then why me?" She met my eyes. "Because I trust your judgment." Her words caught me off guard. Trust. It had been a long time since that word felt comforting. "You really believe I could do this?" "I wouldn't be here if I didn't." I took a slow breath before nodding. "Then I won't let you down." Grace smiled warmly. "I never thought you would." The project demanded everything I had. Long meetings, late nights, impossible deadline. Yet every challenge reminded me how much stronger I had become. One afternoon, Grace stopped beside my desk. "How are you holding up?" I smiled. "Tired. I expected that. But I'm happy." She nodded with approval. "That's the difference." "What do you mean?" "Before, you worked because you were trying to prove your worth." I looked at her. "And now?" "Now you work because you already know your worth." Her words stayed with me long after she walked away. For years, I had measured myself by Olivia's choices. If she stayed, I felt enough. If she left, I felt broken. Now I was building something no one could take from me. That evening, our team celebrated another successful milestone. One of the younger engineers raised a glass. To Ethan, everyone smiled. "You believed in us when nobody else did." I laughed quietly. "Thank you." Driving home, I realized something had changed inside me. For the first time in years, I wasn't wondering whether someone would choose me. I had finally started choosing myself. A month later, Grace stopped outside my office with a bright smile. "Ready for tomorrow?" she asked. I looked up from my notes. "The presentation?" She nodded. "The investors are excited to hear your vision." I laughed nervously. I haven't spoken in front of that many people before. "You'll do fine." "What makes you so sure?" "You know every detail better than anyone." The next morning, I stepped onto the stage. My hands felt cold, but my voice stayed steady. "Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here." As I explained the project, the room grew quiet. People listened. They nodded. They asked thoughtful questions. For the first time in years, I felt seen for my abilities instead of my pain. When the presentation ended, the audience applauded. Grace shook my hand. "I told you." I smiled. "You were right." As people gathered around to congratulate me, I noticed a familiar face standing near the back of the room. Olivia. She stood silently, watching me with tearful eyes. I looked away to answer another question. When I glanced back again, she was still there, holding herself together with quiet regret. I continued answering questions from the investors, unaware of the storm quietly unfolding behind me. One executive smiled. "Mr. Carter, your leadership has been impressive." "Thank you," I replied. "This project succeeded because of an incredible team." Grace stepped beside me. "You're finally accepting compliments." I laughed. "I'm learning." "You've earned every one of them." As the crowd slowly dispersed, Grace leaned closer. "There's someone who came only to see you." I frowned. "What do you mean?" She glanced toward the back of the hall. "There was a woman standing there during your entire presentation." I didn't notice. "She never stopped watching you." Before I could turn around, Grace looked again and quietly sighed. "She's gone." I shrugged gently. "Maybe she had the wrong room." Grace studied my face. "I don't think so." We walked toward the exit together. Outside, photographers asked for interviews about the project. I answered every question with calm confidence. For the first time in years, my future felt larger than my past, and I realized success wasn't changing who I was. It was simply revealing the man I had always been. Later that evening, I stood alone on the balcony outside my office, watching the city lights stretch across the skyline. My phone remained silent, and for the first time, I appreciated the silence instead of fearing it. Grace joined me with 2 cups of coffee. "You were amazing today," she said. "I was just being myself." She smiled. "Exactly." I looked toward the dark streets below. I used to believe my value depended on whether someone loved me enough to stay. "And now?" she asked. I took a slow breath. "Now I know my worth isn't decided by someone else's choices." She nodded proudly. "That's the man I always saw." As we talked, neither of us noticed Olivia standing across the street. She watched us for a long moment before lowering her eyes. The confident man, standing on that balcony, was not the broken husband she had left behind. Only then did she understand that I had never been weak. I had simply loved her without limits. Tears filled her eyes before she quietly turned away and disappeared into the night, carrying a regret she could never escape. The morning of our divorce hearing arrived with a strange sense of calm. Months earlier, I would have walked into that courthouse hoping to save my marriage. Today, I walked in hoping only for peace. Sophia greeted me outside the courtroom. "Are you ready?" she asked. "As ready as I'll ever be." She gave me a reassuring smile. "You don't have to prove anything today." "I know." When we entered, Olivia was already sitting beside her attorney. She looked at me with red, tired eyes. "Hi, Ethan," she whispered. "Good morning. You look different." "I've changed." "I can see that." Before either of us spoke again, the bailiff called our case. We stood as Judge Rebecca Collins entered. "Please be seated," she said calmly. She looked at both of us before speaking again. "Divorce is never only about paperwork. It is about choices." Her words settled over the silent courtroom. I took a slow breath, knowing this would be the final chapter of the life we once promised each other. Judge Collins looked at both of us before speaking. "I've reviewed the documents, but I want to hear from each of you." She turned toward Olivia. "Mrs. Carter, why did this marriage fail?" Olivia's voice trembled. "I never stopped loving Ethan." The judge waited. "Then what happened?" "I kept believing there would always be another chance." Tears rolled down Olivia's face. "Every time Ryan called, I thought Ethan would understand." She wiped her eyes. "I believed he would keep forgiving me because he loved me too much." Her words hit me harder than any message I had ever read. Judge Collins looked at me. "Mr. Carter, would you like to respond?" I nodded slowly. "I did love her." I paused. "I loved her enough to wait. I loved her enough to forgive. But love without respect cannot survive forever." The courtroom fell silent. I looked at Olivia one last time. "I never left because I stopped loving you. I left because I finally started respecting myself." Olivia lowered her head, quietly crying, unable to answer a single word. Judge Collins remained silent for a moment before speaking again. "Marriage requires trust from both people." She looked at Olivia. "Do you believe your husband trusted you at the end?" Olivia shook her head. "No. Why not?" "Because I kept giving another man the attention my husband deserved." The judge nodded thoughtfully. "Do you regret your choices?" "Every single day." She turned toward me. "Mr. Carter, have you considered reconciliation?" I answered honestly. "I have. And I realized forgiveness and trust are different." Olivia looked up hopefully. "I can earn your trust back." I gently shook my head. "I wanted to believe that." "You still can." "I can't." Her shoulders slumped. "I finally understand what I destroyed." "I know you do." "I never wanted this ending." "Neither did I." I took a slow breath before continuing. "I dreamed of growing old with you." "So did I," she whispered. "But dreams cannot survive when only one person keeps protecting them." The courtroom became completely silent as every word settled heavily between us. Impossible to take back or forget forever. Judge Collins closed the file in front of her and spoke with quiet certainty. "Based on the evidence and mutual agreement, this marriage is legally dissolved." Her gavel struck once. "It is final." A heavy silence filled the courtroom. Olivia turned toward me with tears streaming down her face. "Ethan, please." She reached for my hand. For a brief moment, I remembered our wedding day, our promises, and the life we had dreamed of building together. Then I gently stepped back. "I'm sorry," I said softly. Some doors only close after being left open too many times. She covered her mouth, trying to stop herself from crying. "I never thought I would lose you. I know. I wish I could change everything." "So do I." I nodded respectfully toward Judge Collins, thanked Sophia, and walked toward the courtroom door. No anger remained inside me. No desire for revenge. Only peace. I never looked back. As I stepped into the sunlight, I knew my future was finally my own, while Olivia stayed behind, realizing too late that love cannot survive without being chosen every single day. Several months passed before fate placed Olivia in front of me again. I attended a charity gala to support one of Grace's community projects, expecting nothing more than an ordinary evening. While greeting guests, I noticed a familiar face standing quietly across the room. Olivia. She looked different. The confidence she once carried had faded, replaced by tired eyes and a quiet sadness. For a moment, neither of us moved. Then she slowly walked toward me. "Ethan," she said softly. "Hello, Olivia. I wasn't sure you'd speak to me. I don't carry anger anymore." She lowered her eyes. "I've been hoping for this conversation for a very long time, and I owe you the truth." She took a slow breath before speaking again. "I'm sorry, Ethan." I remained silent, letting her continue. "I spent years believing there would always be another chance. I thought you would always wait for me, no matter how many times I disappointed you." Tears filled her eyes. I was wrong. I nodded gently. "Yes, you were." She looked at me with quiet regret. "I finally understand what I lost." I answered honestly. "So do I." She wiped away a tear. "I would give anything to change those choices." I looked at her calmly. "Some lessons only arrive after the opportunity to choose has already disappeared forever." Olivia looked at me for a long moment before asking, "Do you hate me?" I shook my head. "No." "Then why are you thanking me with your eyes instead of blaming me?" I smiled gently. "Because losing you forced me to find myself." She looked confused. "I don't understand. I spent years believing my worth depended on being chosen. After you left, I discovered my value had never belonged to anyone else." A tear rolled down her cheek. "I never saw how strong you really were. You saw strength as weakness because I loved without limits." She lowered her head. "I understand now." "So do I," I replied, feeling lighter than I ever had before. The music quietly filled the room as we stood facing each other for the last time. Olivia managed a faint smile through her tears. "I truly hope you're happy, Ethan." "I am," I answered, "not because everything went my way, but because I finally found peace." She nodded slowly. "You deserve that." "So do you?" She looked surprised. "Even after everything, I don't wish pain on you anymore." Her voice broke. "Goodbye." I smiled gently. "Goodbye, Olivia." I turned and walked toward the exit without looking back. Behind me, I heard her whisper, "The last time I chose Ryan was the last time I truly had you." I kept walking, carrying only peace into my future. Months passed after the charity event, and life finally felt peaceful instead of uncertain. Every morning, I woke with purpose instead of regret. The memories were still there, but they no longer control my heart. One afternoon, Grace invited me into her office with a bright smile. "I have good news," she said. "I'm listening." She placed a contract on the desk. "I want you to become my business partner." I stared at the papers. "Are you serious?" "I've never been more serious." "Why me?" "Because you've earned my trust, my respect, and this opportunity." I smiled wider than I had in years. For the first time, my future feels brighter than my past. Grace nodded proudly. Michael folded his hands and looked at me with quiet regret. "We finally understand why you had to leave." I listened without interrupting. Linda wiped away a tear. "We kept telling Olivia you would come back." I lowered my eyes. "I wanted to more than once." Michael nodded sadly. "She knows that now." He took a slow breath before continuing. "She left her job and spends most of her time volunteering. She says helping strangers reminds her to stop chasing the past." I smiled gently. "I hope she finds peace." Linda reached across the table. "You're not angry with her anymore?" I shook my head. "No, I just don't belong in her future anymore. As I left the cafe, I felt no anger, no bitterness, and no desire to rewrite the past. I sincerely hoped Olivia would become the person she wanted to be, but I finally understood that her healing was no longer my responsibility. My future no longer depended on her regrets or apologies. It depended on the choices I made every single day. As I walked toward my car, I smiled at the quiet confidence growing inside me. Moving on had never meant forgetting the woman I once loved. It meant refusing to let yesterday decide tomorrow. With every step forward, I carried the lessons, released the pain, and embraced a future that belonged completely to me. 1 year after the divorce, I returned alone to the same restaurant where everything had changed. The familiar entrance, the quiet music, and the warm lights brought back memories I once believed would haunt me forever. Instead, I felt surprisingly calm. The waiter greeted me with a friendly smile. "Welcome back, sir." "Thank you." I chose the same table where Olivia and I had celebrated our last anniversary together. When the waiter handed me the menu, I smiled. "I already know what I want." "The anniversary cake?" he asked. "Yes." As he walked away, I looked around the room and realized something unexpected. The place had stayed exactly the same. The man sitting inside it had changed completely. The waiter placed the cake in front of me with a warm smile. "I hope you enjoy it." "I will," I replied. After he walked away, I lit the small candle myself and watched the flame dance quietly. A year earlier, I had stared at this same cake with a broken heart. Tonight, I felt only gratitude. I whispered softly, "Thank you." Not to Olivia, not to fate, to the man I had become. Losing the person I loved had forced me to find the person I had forgotten. I smiled as I realized the pain that once defined my life had become the lesson that rebuilt it. For the first time, those memories no longer hurt me. A few days later, I received an unexpected phone call. "Ethan," the familiar voice said, "this is Michael." I paused. "Hello. I was wondering if you would meet your mother-in-law and me." I smiled sadly. "I think you mean your daughter." He sighed. "You're right. We agreed to meet at a quiet cafe." When I arrived, Michael and Linda were already waiting. Michael stood immediately. "Thank you for coming. I wasn't sure I should." Linda looked at me with tearful eyes. "We owe you an apology." I sat down quietly. "For what?" "For seeing your pain too late." Neither of us spoke for several seconds, and the silence carried more honesty than words ever could.